CEO Money is sponsored by WF News 1 Incorporated. Views and opinions heard on CEO Money are not necessarily the opinion of this station or its management. Material on this program is intended for general information only and should not be taken as specific investment, tax, or legal advice.
Welcome to CEO Money, with your hosts Michael Yorba and Mervyn Price interviewing private and publicly traded industry titans. It's a fast-paced show focusing on CEO achievement stories, industry breakthroughs, disruptive technology, and emerging growth companies. CEO Money keeps you ahead of the curve on private and public equity trends you can't get anywhere else. We deliver tomorrow's trade today. And now, here's your hosts, Michael Yorba and Mervyn Price.
Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba, your host, and
I'm Mervyn Price, your co-host.
All right, this is our first show for our new network that we're breaking out. And I think what we ought to do, Mervyn, is give everybody kind of a rundown of who we are, what we're going to be doing, the kind of content they can expect on the show, and where we're headed. What do you say?
I agree with that, and I'll let you start off and tell them who we are and why we're here.
Okay. Mervyn and I are going to co-host the show. We're going to be bringing on other hosts as we go through time. Mervyn has got a great background in turning around companies, investment banking, amongst other things. We've got a wonderful team assembled here. This isn't just a one-person show. There's a huge team involved. Todd Sonoga, I want to put a big thank you for doing a great job as our Chief Marketing Officer. He's in charge of our social media division, driving the traffic and getting the word out to our show. We're going to be bringing on as hosts and co-hosts every so often, Joseph Ard, IT Director. We've got Clubs Corp. Merv, you brought Clubs Corp onto the show. Tell the audience what they do for us.
Clubs Corp is fascinating and it's been around for a long time. They basically operate in 24 cities. And they bring CEOs to venture capitalists in the form of a luncheon. So they book one of the top places. I won't advertise on the air for them. They can do that themselves. But when I say the top places, some of the most wonderful steakhouses around the country, they send invites to people, CEOs of companies, to become members, and they have very super high net worth individuals, venture capitalists, and they bring them together in a room, in an ambient environment, and they discuss investment. And that's Clubs Corp, and we're proud to be affiliated with them.
They'll be on the show later on this week, Thursday?
That's correct. Thursday we'll have Don Cavett and Ben Doherty joining us.
Okay. Now we also had another member of the team, Jan McNeely. He's our executive producer. She's going to bring with her Vicki Griffith, who's going to host our health care segment on Tuesday. And can't wait for them they'll be here tomorrow. Russ Filippo, he is our investor relations division. And William Fisher, we call him Fish, our technical producer. We've got several other people, but we just wanted to give you the highlights. We're going to integrate all these people into the show as we go through time. Next, let's tell the audience, Merv, what we do. Interviews. What type of interviews we're doing.
Well, our function in this show is to bring deserving CEOs who've worked very hard with the companies that are either in the second or third round of capital looking for expansion for research and development. We bring those to the air and to the world, and behind them, we bring venture capitalists, angel investors. And what we do from the database we have, we're able to basically marry the appetite of an investor to the direction and product and services of that very successful and hardworking entrepreneurial CEO. And then after the show, they basically get together and we see how well they can work together. One invests in the other and they invest in each other. And that's our function. We're effectively a high-level corporate marriage bureau for people who are looking for success and capital.
Now, we've got strategic partners that we work with in a broad variety of market sectors. People that work in the private equity sector, people that work in venture capital, all the way up to full-blown investment banking companies. They'll be sending us different types of technologies and processes that are ahead of the curve, types of investments, if you would, and companies and CEOs that normally the public doesn't have access to. These are companies before the public hears about them that are going to be coming onto the show, talking to us about how their cutting-edge technology, business processes and management skills are going to be leading the wave of new business on not just a domestic level, but on an international basis. So we've got the week broken down into basically 7 different market sectors. Merv, if you'd like, you want to bring out which different market sectors we're going to talk about?
Well, yes, today's IT. Monday will always be information technology, and Tuesdays it's a healthcare. And it's a slightly different show in healthcare because we do actually involve celebrities, doctors, and a different host. So Vicky Griffith will be hosting that, produced by Jan McNeely. And then on Wednesdays, a very fascinating topic, energy, natural resources and manufacturing, essentially the traditional backbone of the American industrial process. Now, that is followed on Thursday by B2B and B2C and Friday's financial.
And Friday's financial. What we're not going to be going into the tried and true processes of how business has already been done and then walking our way through it. We're trying to find companies that are leading edge. There's a lot of talk about fintech when you get into the financial sector. There's a lot of talk about new technologies that are coming in every single one of these market sectors. So we're going to be working through this. Just let everybody know this is just the first city of a 5-city launch. We're looking to bring the show out to starting in Dallas, then Chicago, New York, LA, and San Francisco. And in each one of those cities, we're working to bring a face-to-face meeting with the guests that are on the show, with the type of people that need to meet them, whether they're investors, or clients, or other types of individuals that we're going to be putting them into the mix with. So Merv, I brought Merv into this show several months ago, and it's just taking off with the things that he's brought to the table. And I wanted to open this up, Merv, just so that everybody can kind of get a flavor for your background, who you are. I mean, I've had a show here for about 7-8 years, took a couple of years off, went on vacation, and now I'm back at it. But I want to make sure everybody gets a flavor for you on our first show, what your background is, why you have insights into what we're doing that really it's hard to find anybody that can do what you do.
Well, Michael, I really appreciate that. Obviously, I've turned several companies around, but my background originally was in semiconductors, and I had a highly successful career in the 1980s in semiconductors as an entrepreneur and as a founder of a semiconductor company. But let me just talk about that. Let me talk about what an entrepreneur really is. Let me talk about why we're here. Let me tell you about the technology that got us here. Let me tell you about even the chips in your car. Now, everybody thinks entrepreneurs are relatively new. Everyone's an entrepreneur. It's software, it's IT. I'll share something with you. When I was a young man in England, I looked across the ocean, and there were 2 heroes to me, 2 of the best entrepreneurs and best brilliant businessmen this planet has ever seen, in my opinion. One was Jack Kirby, who invented the microchip right here in Dallas with Texas Instruments. And the other was Bob Noyce, who worked at the time for Sherman Fairchild over in California, and who invented the methodology whereby that microchip that Jack Kirby pioneered could be made on silicon. Together, they founded an industry upon which is built all the other technology industries. Now, that's entrepreneurialism, and that's where my interest lies. Bring entrepreneurs to the money, just as Bob Noyce brought Sherman Fairchild's money to Intel when they founded Intel and went into the business with Gordon Moore. These are my superheroes. We intend to make superheroes in this age on this show.
Well, we're going to do that. But one of the other things that I wanted the audience to know about you is that in your career as a turnaround specialist, in your career as an investment banker, you learn to ask the hard questions, not just what does the balance sheet tell you, but what's really behind the person that made the balance sheet, that's making the company, that has to go through the ups and the downs of building a company that turns into a real success. And it's not easy to be able to bring that out of somebody unless you've actually lived it, 1, and 2, done it as a regular course of business. So let the audience know the kinds of questions that we're going to be asking. That they're not all softball questions, but they're let me stop right there and just tell them the kind of insights that you're going to bring to the table.
Well, obviously, one of the problems and difficulties that all entrepreneurs face is they're highly optimistic in their capital requirements, and they always really need far more capital than they anticipated. One of the aspects of helping them is to really dig down and say, what is your use of funds going to be and why? How have you used funds to date? What timelines and deadlines have you missed? What timelines and deadlines have you made? What benchmarks do you have? What are your benchmarks of success? Those are the questions.
Yep, and we're going to get on to that, after we get the marbles out of our mouth on our maiden voyage. But we've got about 30 seconds left. Stick around. Our next guest, Andrew Kernan, CEO, American Property Guard. We're going to start it off with a real bang, and we'll be right back.